Welcome to Games from Folktales. I'm your host Timothy Ferguson, and this is not your episode for the week. It's a little bonus news episode. There's a lot going on in the wider Ars Magica sphere, so let's gather it all together. Links for the various things mentioned are available from the webpage, which includes transcripts of this podcast. There's a new issue of Sub Rosa out. I particularly like the article, which is based on the Robin of Sherwood television series. I had a lot of fun adapting that to Pendragon back when I was in university. CJ, our Master of Revels, is having an online conference in November called Image from the Wizard Torn, details at his usual website on Facebook. He also has a scenario coming out for Casting the Runes, which is on Kickstarter. It's set in the world of M.R. James, and if you've hung around Games from Folktales for a while, you'll probably love those stories as much as I do. Magonomia is powering along, but I'm under NDA for my bits in it, so to see more, go to Shoestone Publishing's webpage. Basically, though, it's a joy to write for because the period sources are so rich. Shoestone has also started doing a scenario a month on their blog, so check that out. If you'd like to follow Games from Folktales on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible or Player FM, you should find it there in the next day or so. The transcripts for Games from Folktales are back, and they are caught up with the exception of the monster stats, which are still about 20 behind. My hope is to have those sorted out by episode 300, which by sheer coincidence is December the 24th. The hope is to have a new version of Half-Remembered Monsters up for December with all of the new creatures in it. A lot of my reading at the moment is on Elizabethan stuff for Magonomia, and I used up the backlog of emergency episodes when I let them all free for the COVID lockdown, so I'm going to be a bit more dependent on texts for the next little while. The plan for the months ahead is basically a pattern like this. One episode will be a poem by Walter de la Mare with a monster or location in it. One episode will be me pulling apart a chapter of The King of Elfland's Daughter by Lord Dunsany. One episode will be about Mythic Venice, and the other one, or in months with 5 Thursdays, 2 episodes will be miscellaneous. They'll just be whatever catches my eye. The next one, for example, is a demon from the works of Sir Walter Scott. The plan will almost certainly go off the rails, judging by my history, because what will happen is I'll hit excellent source material and mine that instead. But this is the default state. Even as I'm writing this, I'm aware that the Walter de la Mare episodes might be easier to do as 15-minute blocks of poetry and comment. The reason I'm keeping them as single poems is that the statistics for the creatures take far longer than the podcast recording itself. And if I do them in great chunks, it will be like when I did the same thing for Lord Dunsany, which I still haven't got through the backlog of. Feedback is always welcome, particularly when I'm suggesting something as ridiculous as the Dunsany episodes, which should stretch out until late 2023. Subscribers to the podcast have reacted well to Lord Dunsany in the past, and this is his masterpiece, so why not? As always, thanks to the Patreons, without whom this would not be possible. If you'd like to support Games from Folktales, look up Timothy Ferguson on Patreon. As I say, you will get your regular episode this week. I believe it's a story that will sound strangely familiar, particularly to Magonomia players now that I think about it, but it's set in Venice.